Hey everybody, it's Dave here from Dragonhill Games, and many of you guys have been asking me to make a video on what I'm currently looking at in the reserve list, so here you have it. Here are my top 5 picks that are reasonably priced from the reserve list. And by reasonably priced, I mean cards that are currently at the making of this video have a value of $20 or less. Alright, before we get into my picks, there's a few things I kind of just want to get out of the way. I feel a need to put a little bit of a disclaimer in front of this video because, as I'm sure you are all well aware, the reserve list market is lava hot right now. We're definitely in some kind of bubble, and I'm not saying that bubble is ready to burst. That's not what this video is about. But what I am saying is, historically, when traditional markets have gone on a massive upswing like this, they have typically been followed by a downward trend. And like I was saying, I don't think that we're there yet. But this is kind of scary how much some of these cards have increased in value. So ultimately what I'm saying is the information I provide you here are my own personal choices, and you can do with this information what you will at your own responsibility. And secondly, if you know me and you've been following my channel, you know I have one big rule of thumb, and that is a card has to be playable in order for me to invest in it. I have to be able to see myself putting a card into a deck. Otherwise, I'm really not interested. I don't deal or speculate in collectible cards that really have no play value. So with that said, many of the cards on the list today you're going to see have already moved in an upward direction. But for me personally, I don't really care. I take a long-term view on cards. It's getting to the point where it's almost impossible to find any reserve list cards that haven't spiked recently. All right, let's dive right into my top 5 reserve list value pick investments, and we're going to start right here with Miser's Cage from Mirage, currently valued at $6.75. Now, there's one important thing to note about this card. It's actually been errata to remove the word target and be replaced with the word each. So at the end of each opponent's upkeep, if that player has 5 or more cards in hand, Miser's Cage deals 2 damage to him or her. Obviously, this card only plays out in Commander, and in fact, all of the cards I'm looking at today really are for Commander. This is a perfect fit for a force draw type deck, something like Nekasar the Mindraiser, but in general terms these days, most Commander decks draw a lot of cards. And if in your local meta you're facing off against a bunch of opponents that consistently have their hands full, then Miser's Cage is an amazing tax for just 3 mana. In the number 4 spot, we have Freya Marauder from Visions, currently valued at $9.75. Interesting to note, this card has doubled in price every week for the last 3 weeks. It was around $2, then went to around $5 a couple of weeks ago, and then between this week and last, it doubled again to around $10. Freya Marauder is a perfect fit for any type of deck that wants to be able to cast a bunch of free or cheap spells. It also slots really well into decks playing off of either ETB or when creatures leave the battlefield triggers. And of course, it's perfect for any Cheerios type strategy. There's a lot of these kind of cards and creatures out there. However, if you're putting together a commander deck that revolves around 0-cost spells, it's still pretty hard to get enough of those in there. So Freya Marauder can definitely make its way into a bunch of different styles of decks. Alright, in the number 3 spot, we have Theons Curse from Fallen Empires, currently valued at $2.75. It's actually a really cool card. I play it in my casual version of Savala. For 2 mana, we're getting an enchantment that states blue creatures do not untap as normal during their controller's untap phase. And during his or her upkeep, a blue creature's controller may pay an additional blue to untap it, and this can only be done once per turn. This is a really sweet tax for mono green decks to be putting on blue opponents. And $2.75 is a great price to be picking up this card, even if you just need 1 or 2 for your own collection. Alright, coming in at number 2, I've chosen a Shaku Endbringer from Mirage. At $6, there's a big opportunity here with this card. It's a long way off of its all-time highs of $12.50. Of note, Shaku has been errated for creature type Vampire Legend. So that's obviously very important. Now, Shaku is heavily costed at 7 mana, but she has some amazing abilities. First of all, she's a 5/5 flyer, but she can't attack if there are any other creatures in play. During your upkeep, you lose 3 life, which is generally nominal for a deck that's a vampire-themed deck. But the important thing is here, you can tap her to exile a target creature and put a +1/+1 counter on Shaku. She is absolutely amazing for vampire themed decks to have spot ways to exile creatures. And at the making of this video, I really like this price of $6 considering it's so far off of its all-time highs. And last but not least, far and away my #1 pick right now is Debt of Loyalty from Weatherlight. I really like this card. It's super playable in many decks. For 2 white and 1, we're getting an instant that states regenerate target creature and gain control of that creature. This card has all kinds of uses. You can either use it to save one of your own creatures in the event of a board wipe, or you can use it to take control of one of your opponent's creatures that is going to die this turn. But playability aside on this card, I really do like the history of this card. Every time we've seen a new resistance level, the following support levels have never fallen anywhere close to previous lows. Get your hands on this card for $20 now while you still can. Alright, I really hope you guys found the information in this video useful. If you did, go ahead and smash that like button. It really helps me out, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.